touch the skies. Cheltenham town and forest green, Gloucester City stands so keen. Talk of the county, loud and clear.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Talk of the County Podcast. I am your host Daniel Hopkins, brought to you by Traffic Safety Management Ltd, experts in traffic management, local depot in Gloucester, but support projects all around the UK. TSM keeps the roads moving safely, day and night, offering local operatives a great career prospects and a socially driven company that generally looks after its people and communities they serve. To find out more, visit www.tsmltd.co.uk. Good morning, gents. We've got the team with us today. We've got Sean Baker. Good morning, Sean.
All right, boys.
We've got Chris Howes. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, lads.
And we've got Dave Angel/Jones. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Before we go to Chris around the grounds, we've got a special guest joining us a little later this morning, Daf Williams. So they'll be interested to get his view on Gloucester City's season so far. So we will crack on and let's go to Chris for around the grounds.
We are going to talk of the counties around the grounds by Chris Howes.
Yeah, cheers, Dan. Let's go around the grounds. Brought to you by BAM Recruitment. They find better matches than most managers in a January transfer window. Whether it's temporary or permanent, they put the right people in the right positions. Engineering, construction, and operational. No VAR needed. Check them out below. First up, the ladies. Last Sunday, Cheltenham Town were up against Watford, where they fell to a 3-0 defeat. No game for Cheltenham this weekend. Forest Green had no game last weekend. They face Saltash later today. And Gloucester City played Torquay last Sunday. Goals from Sashi Kaneko-Grun and Georgia Van Dreys were not enough as they fell to a 3-2 defeat. On Monday, it was announced that manager Chris Hill had also left the club. Gloucester are away at Poole Town later today. Moving to the Southern League Division 1 South, Bishop's Cleeve were at Bristol Manor Farm yesterday, where the teams played out a 1-1 draw, and Hartbury travelled to Brixham and picked up a 1-0 win. Cleeve have dropped out of the playoff places in 6th, with Hartbury hot on their heels in 7th. Both teams are at home next Saturday, with Cleeve hosting Portishead Town and Hartbury welcoming Frome Town. For Hellenic Premier Division clubs, there were a few midweek games. Fairford's Challenge Cup journey coming to an end, losing 5-2 away at Droitwich Spa. Long Levens made it through, winning 3-0 at home to Cribbs. And in the league, Slimbridge lost 1-0 at home to Worcester Raiders. Yesterday, Slimbridge lost again, putting a real dent in their title aspirations with a 3-2 defeat away at Hereford Pegasus. Also on the losing side were Lydney, who fell to a 3-1 defeat away at Mangotsfield. Fairford won 2-0 at home to Cribbs. That's it from around the grounds. Back over to you, Dan.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris. So let's crack on then. We'll start with Forest Green Rovers. Sean, a disappointing night on Tuesday, but before we get your view, I'm just going to play a voice note we've got from Martin. So thanks for sending in, Martin. We haven't had one for a while. But to see what your views are. Seems you share the same views on Tuesday night, Sean.
Morning, gentlemen. No, on last night's game, Forest Green against Boston. I haven't posted for a while, but last night made me so angry watching Forest Green. It was a total embarrassment. It was just, there was too many players out there just wandering around, didn't look interested, got no commitment, no tackle, no drive. I went to Boreham Wood on Saturday and it was a total different performance from then. I just don't know what happened last night. I know 3-2 probably masks the actual performance a bit because Boston had won the game by half-time and they was always going to sit back and just manage the game. Forest Green scored 2 goals, which does cover the cracks a bit, but I honestly couldn't believe what I was watching last night. I watched the Carlisle game a few weeks before. I watched the Wealdstone game a few weeks before where we both conceded 3 goals in each game. But last night was 100 times worse than those 2 games. I ain't going to say my views on Robbie Savage. I just think sometimes he's just panicking. That his enthusiasm is there. But I just wanted to post that anyway. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Martin. Sean, obviously, let's take. Obviously, we'll get on to yesterday's game, which shortly, which counteracts pretty much everything that it says there. But
Sorry,
can you understand his frustration, Sean?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans were feeling the same on Tuesday. I think I said it somewhere. I think that was one of the worst halves of football that I'd seen. There was players there, like he said, they didn't look interested. They weren't running. Didn't really want to get involved. They were just out there, stood on a football pitch. I genuinely think us four could have gone out there and done a better job.
God, that's saying something.
Yeah, that is saying something. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say to sum that first 45 minutes up.
Yeah, do you think sometimes do you think it's fair to say sometimes Forest Green get caught cold and surprised, like, because when you do get the likes of your Bostons, and let's ignore Carlisle, when you get the likes of your Bostons and your Wealdstones, there's no disrespect to these clubs, you're probably expecting that they're gonna set up with that low block, so they're coming out quick at you. Do you think it might catch you on your reels?
Shouldn't do. I mean, we conceded goals first and early in games way before that. Obviously, Robbie's been saying it consistently in his pre-match interviews and talks in the Carol Embry suite about, how we're always giving teams a goal. Boston was always going to be a bit of a tough game. They were on good form. Obviously, they beat Scunthorpe 6-3 at Scunthorpe. They were a team in form, but we just weren't at it. Like there was just nothing there. And yeah, I really don't know how else to sum that first half up against Boston.
Well, it obviously didn't start the best for you guys, Sean. Obviously, they had a penalty in the first 12 minutes, and obviously Boston scored it. I missed literally the first 12 minutes when they scored. I turned on just as they scored. Was it a penalty?
It was tough to see where I was sat. I've seen the highlights, and I can see why it's been given. I mean, the referee, again, he took 9 seconds or 10 seconds to give it, which was a bit weird, but I guess he was giving himself a bit of time to think about it. But I don't, looking at the highlights, don't really have too many arguments with that.
Yeah, but like you said, the pattern of play in the first half, it pretty much was all Boston, wasn't it? And especially in that first half hour, they had a gilt-edged chance, but then on the 28th minute, an header at the back post, and they go 2-0 up. I'm a fine one for saying this. The set pieces we concede, but it's disappointing, isn't it? Conceding a goal from a set piece, and especially after already being 1-0 down.
I don't know. That's happened a few times now, hasn't it? Keep conceding goals from corners. Obviously, Gabe Kirchhoff, I think a few games back, was done the same sort of thing. But I just think, there's the way the whole game, the way that first half went, we couldn't even string passes together. Couldn't do anything. It was just the bare basics. But yeah, I mean, half time, like it was a tough one.
Yeah, and probably I'd say, and this was hard to pick out. But I would probably say the one player who was putting themselves about a bit, and he probably had your best chance of the first half, was Doige. Are you pleased to see him back in around it, Sean?
Yeah, I love Doige. I'm glad he's obviously been given a chance. He started 2 games, Bournemouth, Boston. I think I love Doige. I'm just not sure he's the answer. Obviously, he can't get quite around the pitch like he can now, like he used to. He's had a few chances, not really troubled, I'd say, the keeper as such. But I mean, for Doige, I love him being part of the squad. But I think starting, not for me.
Yeah. He obviously did. He went off at half time, but I thought he had your best chance in that first half. I think he was stretching a bit, but just headed over, didn't he? But it obviously went from bad to worse, Sean. And on the 38th minute, you're 3-0 down, and the lad just runs through and slots home. I can quite imagine what you was saying sat in the ground, mate.
I think you're winding me up just talking about it.
I wind you up talking to you, mate.
Honestly, it was, I just thinking back to it, it was, you can't really sum it up. like Martin said there, it just made you angry. There was just, like you said, too many players just weren't at it, just didn't seem to care, wasn't committed. We weren't winning first balls, second balls, weren't even passing, like making it simple 5-yard passes. Honestly, I thought that game was going to end up a cricket score.
Yeah, I thought they had quite a few chances. They could have put the game to bed first half, couldn't they? But obviously the commentators said, Sean, during the game, well, during the first half, and we, as we know, Billy Hunt is very pro Forest Green. He's probably a bit too far the other way in terms of you're a neutral listening or you're an away fan listening. He did say first half, because I know he was on co-commentary with him, but they both kind of said that Forest Green was that
a lad called Alfie. I think
right, Alfie. So him and Alfie, they both kind of said that it just seemed like Forest Green were missing an identity in the first half. It just seemed like the players, and it's not the management, but what he's saying, it just seemed like they didn't know what they were doing, or they wasn't running like they was 6, 7, 8 weeks before that.
Yeah, no, I think I've said it. Like, looks, there seems to be a couple of players that just didn't want to run, didn't want to, challenge, didn't, they weren't there to play football, basically. So I would have made probably, if it had been my decision yesterday, I probably would have made a couple more changes than what Robbie did. So, they're probably lucky that he was the manager and not me.
Well, to be fair, we I say we, but people have been critical of Robbie, the amount of changes he's made during games. But that was probably one game you couldn't blame him, because he probably could have changed the 11, couldn't he, at half time?
Yeah, more than likely. I think he said that himself, that he could have made a few more changes at half time if he had been given the subs. But that's football, isn't it? You can only make so many. He's made, I think, what did you say? He made 3 half time.
He made 1 in the first half, didn't he? I think it was it Mingy who come off at first? Was it Mingy?
Kanu, yeah.
Yeah, Kanu come off first half, and then he made 3 at half time, and then literally made 1 within 4 or 5 minutes of the second half. Obviously, you go into half time, Sean, and it's 3-0. Do you think did you ever believe that Forest Green could get back in the game, or did you think that was it?
No, at half time, I think I said it. I don't know if I put it in the chat to you boys, but I thought this could end up a cricket score. I couldn't see anything else. Boston, they come and they were working hard. I even heard that at one point I heard their bench shout to their players, like, get on the second balls. And I thought, get on the second balls. We're not even getting on the first balls. Like, our boys need to be jumping on the first balls. Like, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, they got a new manager, haven't they? They got that Paul Hurst.
Paul Hurst, yeah, he's Shrewsbury, Green Street.
He's experienced. They look, to be honest, mate, Boston, they looked a good fit, to be fair. I predicted them to be 8th this season, so.
Yeah, the thing is, what they're shouting from the sideline is right, because it's the same with any game. You can kind of get a feel, can't you? If you lose it on the first ball and the team you're playing against are landing on the second balls and the third balls, you kind of get a feeling going, it's going to be one of those days because we're not winning our battles, and it is an important thing, isn't it? If you can tell if players are not on it because they're not winning those second balls, and I would say that was very evident.
We weren't winning first balls, second balls, like. It was mental.
There was a lot of wayward passing as well, Sean. Would you agree? Simple 5-yard passes were going in for a throw in.
I think that's one thing I did just say. You couldn't even make a simple pass. It was like we'd never played football before.
Yeah. But you did get a goal back. And he was a player that you highly rate, and you've said yourself, Sean, you think he should be in the starting lineup. Harvey Bunker. Get you back in the game. Did you start to believe a bit then?
I wouldn't say believe, but it was one of them where you get a goal back and you just think, keep pushing, and you never know if you get a second one, then the nerves kick in, and then there's always that chance you can get a third. But yeah, what I will touch on is I think Harvey Bunker and Tom Knowles, they are 2 players that they will run through a brick wall. I've made that sort of quote known. They are 2 players that they understand. I think they get it. They, even if, they might not be having the best of games at times, but they're still they're still run and make an effort, which is a big, I've said it before. Sometimes you can be as talented as you want, but if you don't work hard, you're not going to get anywhere. And them two, they literally work themselves into the ground. They run themselves into the ground, and they were probably two of the players that, if it was me, I don't think I would rest them. I think they'd be starting every single game from now to the end of the season.
Yeah. You say about Bunker. What do you think that in terms of Bunker? I know Tom Knowles plays a lot, but what do you think the stopping Bunker at the moment starting? Because like I said, I kind of see what you say. Like he adds that bit of physicality. He does win those second balls. If he's not winning the first one, he's on to the second one. What would you think he needs to do to get into the starting lineup?
I don't think he really needs to do anything more. I think he had a couple of dodgy moments before. Which obviously he got sort of rested or dropped or whatever you want to call it. But I think the thing with Bunker is he brings a lot of calmness to the midfield. He plays simple balls. He works hard. Do you know what I mean? And he does chip in with a fair few goals. And he's a young lad as well. I think he's only 22. I'm sure I'm right in saying.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So, but he's experienced. He was with the squad when we won League Two. I just think all round he's just a brilliant player. Midfield for me, I think if you sat him in the midfield, possibly with Tate Campbell, they're two permanent players that are more than likely, I would say, would be here next season, going forward with the club. And I think they could form a good partnership in midfield. But obviously, it all depends. Like I said, it depends what you want out of the midfield. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he has to do anything else to answer your question. I think he just plays it simple, and he works hard.
Yeah, he does. I see your point in terms.
And he seems a proper professional as well. I would imagine he's probably a manager's dream if you've got a coaching.
Yeah. Shortly after you get a goal back, Boston could have put the game to bed, couldn't they? The lad goes 1-on-1 and he's just like he's got spaghetti legs. He should have just like tapped it past Harry, but he didn't. And I'd say for the rest of the game, I've seen a lot of things. Obviously, you get the late goal for Tom Knowles, but I've seen a lot of people trying to work out what the second half was. Rob is mentioned in a lot of his press conferences saying that, it takes us 2-3 goals to go down before we start playing second half Carlisle Tuesday night. But this is my opinion, and obviously a few other people. It'd be good to get your opinion, Sean. Do you think that was because Boston came out and sat back second half, same as Carlisle, sat deep and just said, right, you had the ball and try and break us down?
Yeah, I mean, they're 3-0 up. Boy, teams, especially, and this is no disrespect to Boston, but you're 3-0 up away at Forest Green, who are sort of in the playoffs. Why wouldn't you sort of sit back and just defend what you got when you're 3-0 up? I mean, I don't get it if teams do it at 1-0, because 1-0 and 2-0 can be a bit of a dangerous scoreline, but normally 3-0's a game sort of settled in it. So, no, I don't blame them. They come and done what they had to do. I think Martin was bang on in his voice note when he said 3-2 probably flattened us a little bit. If you'd watch a game, I don't think you'd have said it was a 3-0 game, 3-2 game. But then we could have nicked it near the end as well. So there was a little bit of a frustration there with how bad we played. If we'd nicked a point, it would have been a massive point. But then you would have had to have felt for Boston because they, over the game, say they deserve that.
I said the same on X, and I said I felt like if there was 10 more minutes left in that game, Forest Green would probably have found it because Boston were getting deeper and deeper. Even their clearances wasn't even clearing like the. No,
that's what I mean. Towards the end of the game, they couldn't, and it was all us. I think Knowlesy scored the second goal on the 91st minute, and there was 6 minutes added on. So we had a couple of opportunities where we didn't quite obviously get the goal, but we could have done. But like I said, if you was a Boston fan, I mean, if switches around and if we had been 3-0 up and then ended up like that and gone 3-3, you'd just been sick. But obviously, I mean, I think the less said about that game, the better.
Well, that was the final score, 3-2, and to be fair, I didn't go too deep into Robbie's thoughts, but it was obvious he was angry. He felt he was being let down by a few players. He did say at the time, and you've alluded that there wasn't that many changes yesterday. He did say at the time there was going to be changes, and there was some players there who wasn't fighting for the shirt or maybe deserved to wear the shirt. But it was a disappointing day, and it took you on to Gateshead, and like, again, no disrespect to Gateshead, and they're in form, if you like. And we touched on last week, Sean, that it's at the time of the season. It doesn't matter if you're top or you're bottom. Everybody, apart from if you're a mid table and you've got nothing to play for, but the majority of teams have got something to play for. So it was always going to be a tricky game going up there. But you must have been pleased of how the game went.
Yeah, I was probably to start on a negative. I was probably a little bit disappointed we didn't score more goals. But it was a great start. I don't really feel like Gateshead offered much. Obviously, I think we controlled the game. We got the goal quite early, so there was like no chance for any nerves or, when games go 0-0, especially against teams like Gateshead and things like that, you kind of worry that they're going to sort of grow into the game, if you like. But I always thought it always felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for you guys were going to a place somewhere like Gateshead. We've all been talking on our chat about what an awful ground it is and how hard it must be to play football there. The fans are sat at St James's Park watching. They're that far away from the pitch. But you take that early lead. Harry Oisted with a long ball over the top. Knowles gets in behind and pops it home, and you're 1-0 up. That would have settled everybody's nerves, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think you couldn't have asked for a better start away at somewhere like Gateshead. To be honest, I thought it was it was like, I was looking at that game very similar to how I looked at the Woking game before we had that tough run of games. I thought I wasn't really too bothered on the performance. I just wanted to get the result, get the 3 points. Something that obviously we've struggled with of late. But yeah, it was great ball over the top. I mean, he's done exactly what sort of keepers do, just limp it straight up. The defence probably, from a Gateshead point of view, could have done better. If that's a goal that you concede, you'd be fuming with their defenders. But, that's exactly what we needed. He's lumped it straight up, it's bounced over the defender, and Knowles has ran on and finished it.
Yeah, he did. You mentioned about decision making. There was one questionable one. You said Ahmed should have squared the ball to Reece from 6 yards out, but he tried to float the ball into him, and that could have been 2-0.
Yeah, I was literally, I was screaming for him it just had to be squared back, and he's floated it in and almost put it out for a goal kick. And I think that's what we lacked a little bit yesterday, was a little bit of quality in the final third. But that said, it's probably understandable because, I would imagine there's a little bit of confidence gone in a few of the players, because we have struggled to score goals a little bit lately. So they're probably, it's one of them where they're just sort of 50-50 on some decisions, whereas normally when you're brimming with confidence, you just do things probably without thinking about it as much. But yeah, I just thought it was frustrating because that's 2-0, and you kind of I don't want to say putting the game to bed, but you're in a very commanding position.
Yeah, you just watching the game yourself. Because obviously I got back from Harrogate about 2:30, so I was back in time to watch it, and you just felt looking at Gateshead that unless it came from, which I'll mention now, is their long throw, which was a hell of a weapon, because the lad was like, it was like he was on Heathrow Airport and he was running halfway down the pitch to take it. But it was a hell of a weapon, and you just felt if he was going to get something, it was going to come from that, didn't you, Sean?
Yeah, obviously, I wasn't aware of the long throw before the game. But then when I saw the bloke lining it up, I wasn't sure if he was going to go on a 400-metre sprint or just lob the ball in. But yeah, no, it is a weapon. And like I said, it's, when you got that coming into your box, and especially when, like we touched on the last game against Boston, with the defending from, the header and what have you. And that's what we've sort of lacked a little bit, I think. And that's obviously why I've sort of called for Ryan Innes I know he's injured, but I've said, we miss his height, his presence in the box when corners, crosses and long throws get lobbed in and thrown in and whatever. So, yeah, I mean, the only way they were going to score, I think, was from a set piece.
Yeah,
That's what I felt anyway.
I thought going in at half time, the one thing that I noticed in the first half is, like I said, that they're horrible places to go to. They're horrible teams to play against. I thought they lacked a lot of quality, but it was evident that Gateshead were up for the battle. And I think what Robbie probably did do right yesterday, which obviously you should always praise when the manager gets it right. I think moving Mendy into midfield, I thought Rovers looks more solid and less open. There was numerous times in that first half where I thought Mendy was dropping on that second ball, was stopping the ball getting played out wide. Just doing the simple thing that you would expect a midfielder to do. And like I said, the only way I thought then that Boston Gateshead could get into that game was playing long diagonals, or they were playing for those throw-ins. But we go into the second half. Gateshead did start on the front foot in the second half, and had one, for the first 5 minutes, had one chance. Comfortable save for Ari Oisted.
Yeah, I think so. I think himself, he would have been disappointed if he had conceded there. But again, it's one of them, innit, where, I'm not saying he is low on confidence, but you could understand it if he was low on confidence because of how our games have gone of late. And I've said it a few times. Like, obviously, we've never had. Well, I can't remember the last time we had quite a sort of consistent partnership in front of him. Some of that's forced changes through injury, and some of it, I think, is just where players have not quite been at it. So you got to feel sorry for him in some way. But yeah, I think it was comfortable enough for him.
Yeah, it was. He did. The lad caught it well, to be fair, but it was one of those ones where you hear a lot of managers say it was a good save, but it was the save I expect him to make, and he made it. But you go 2-0 up, Sean, and this is where it's game over. Some awful defending by Gateshead. The lad heads it up in the air, but Chibi was aware, wasn't he? He didn't switch off, and to be fair, it was a lovely finish.
Yeah, Chibi's been quite good last couple of, like, he's probably one of the players that you could say he's probably done all right last couple of games, albeit, I know we were just saying about Boston, but he looks good on the ball. You can see he gets forward. I think the only criticism I would have of him, and I'd probably say Robbie might agree, would be he doesn't shoot nowhere near enough. He's been in great positions multiple times and he's always looking to pass it, which, ain't always a bad thing. But when you're in a better position to shoot, sometimes you've got to let it go. But yeah, I was happy for him. I think that's his first goal since he's come in. And he could have had another one straight after.
He should have had another one, yeah. It's almost identical. The bad news on the day for you guys, Sean, Ricardo Reis went down, and Robbie does say in his post-match that he heard a crack. Judging by what I've seen on the telly, he couldn't put no weight on it, and it looks like it could be a season-defining injury, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm a little bit gutted for him, really. Obviously, I know he's not scored. I think his last goal was against Woking. He's had a couple of chances in the last few games, but he's another one. He works hard. He makes a nothing ball into something, and yeah, hopefully it's not too bad. I'd like to say I hope it's not the end of his season, but I guess I think I stand today, so we'll find out.
The thing is that we say that he hasn't scored since Woking, and one thing I think we've all noticed is that he gets a chance, he can finish. But it's that time of the season there where you've had your bit of a bad spell, and it could be now where Forest Green kick on. Scunthorpe are having their bad spell now. Bournemouth are having their bad spell. It could be now that you find a bit of form going into the playoffs, where Ricardo might be the important ingredient to get you through the playoffs. But Robbie did say that there could, he's had a phone call already from Dale saying that you can make signing 150. I'm joking, so to get Chris going, that you could potentially make another signing if it is a season-defining one. do you not think Doige or Temi could potentially come in? Because I was having a conversation. I don't know what your opinion is on that. I don't see your face there. I had a conversation with one of your fans online yesterday, and I think the players that Forest Green have got, and tell me if you don't agree, I think the players you've got, Forest Green, are more of like, more your goals are always going to come from your midfield, like your McAllisters, your Chibi.
You've been talking to Owen.
Chili Biabu. So I think the big man at top to battle with your defenders and hold the ball, and your midfielders to be dropping on the second balls. Do you think you would need another striker, or do you think Robbie could utilise what I just said? Or
I think personally, another signing probably not for me. I think and it's been said multiple times. Obviously, the problem is we're in the playoffs, so you don't want to mess up any chance of a playoff chance of going up. If we don't go up, he's already said it. That wasn't the aim from Dale. That's not that wasn't ever what our target was this season. It was about building something new. But obviously, when you're in the playoffs, you want to give yourself a chance. The strikers we got at the club, I don't think they're going to be quite good enough to see the season out. Maybe, obviously we haven't saw much of Josh Asude. Obviously he's got a 4-game ban, so I think now we're still going to be waiting for Aldershot on Southend. It is a tough one because I don't want to keep making signings. It's not, but then just go and get me Ormerod from Fylde. Here, do.
See if Sean gets another 10% signing on him.
Nah, honestly, I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? You could not make this. You could not make another signing. I get that. Obviously, I think most fans are on the same wavelength. But then, if you're like Robbie and all that, and you're in the playoffs, you don't want to mess a chance up for the playoffs because it's a long old season, isn't it? So it just seems a waste to get in the playoffs, not give yourself a chance to get through them. So, it's a tough one. I'll be interested to see how it pans out.
So just obviously, finally, Gateshead, do you think they should have had a penalty right at the end? Sean, do you think it was a penalty, or do you think the referee was right?
I must have missed something.
You'll always miss something in a game, Sean. It was when the lad went through, it looked like he tripped him, and I thought it was a penalty all day long. But
is that when the player got booked for?
That's it. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? He's got no reason. He's got no reason to go down. He's got no reason to go down. But I'll take that all day long. Clean sheet.
I think the telling point always is, like I said, I was shouting penalty, but the player's reaction, he didn't argue with the referee when he got booked, so it tells you I went over a little bit easy.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of them where like you kind of don't understand it, why they would go down in that position. I'd probably just skin another player and pop it in the top corner, but we're not all that good. So yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. So the game ends 2-0.
Mate, you couldn't skin a potato.
So the game ends 2-0, Sean, and I think for Forest Green, it was just important, wasn't it? After Tuesday night's result, it was just, no matter how you did it, you won, and you get the 2-0 win. But is it fair to say that judgment won't be on yesterday? It's more going to be when you play Southend next week. If you go to Southend and get a result next week, you feel this form's been turned around.
Yeah, I think I said that. I think yesterday it wasn't so much about a performance for me; it was about a result. I think the result was more important than the performance. Obviously, you don't want to get carried away. It's Gateshead. Again, without sounding disrespectful, they haven't been that great this season. Obviously,
I can't believe their attendances.
Yeah, well, yeah, but Newcastle are at home as well, mind.
Well, so, their last 3 home attendances are 614, 616 and 702. That's mental in the National League. How do they manage?
With the greatest of respect, their attendances have never been that strong, even when they've done well. So you can imagine second bottom in the league is going to take a massive effect on it as well. So, with the greatest of respect to them, it was just about getting that win yesterday, moving on. But it's going to be tough because Aldershot score a lot of goals, and they've turned the corner a little bit under John Coleman as well.
Doing a brilliant job.
So, yeah, you don't want to get too carried away. It was nice to get a win and a clean sheet.
Yeah. And just to finish on, Sean, obviously, Robert's thoughts were, he said about the clean sheet was important, and you'll echo that, won't you? That it was the result, performance wasn't important after the recent run, but to go out there, get a 2-0 win and a clean sheet, is pleasing.
Yeah, I think it's similar to like with strikers. If you don't score for a certain amount of time, you lose a bit of confidence. Goals breed that confidence, and I think it's the same the other way as well. If you keep conceding goals, I think it can sort of dent your confidence. You can brings a bit of nerve to the back. I think when you keep clean sheets, then it only breeds a bit of confidence in the back line. So, I mean, yeah, it was nice to get to control both boxes, get our results in both boxes yesterday.
And he praised Tom Knowles. Obviously, it's the 9th goal of the season, 5 assists. But the one thing I noticed when you scored, Sean, that the players were they kind of high-fived and was going to walk back to the halfway line, but Tom Knowles was screaming at the team to get over into the corner and celebrate the goal. Do you feel Tom's got a bit of a captain material for Forest Green?
He's unbelievable. Honestly, can't speak highly enough of him. Like I said, if you're going to go to war, you're going to take Tom Knowles with you. That's the sort of player I think he is. He doesn't matter how bad or, if he's struggling with, he might not be having the best performance, but he would always run through a brick wall. I love Knowlesy. He, like I said, he totally gets it, totally understands it. And I think some players, and I'm not just talking about our team, you could put it on a lot of teams. There's players in teams, and I think they take football for granted sometimes. They don't realise the position that they hold. Yeah, Knowles is brilliant, mate. Love him. Yeah. And he deserves to be starting every game.
Yeah. Well, that's Forest Green. Thanks, Sean. It's good to see you smiling for the first time in a few weeks, mate.
Well, I want to bet as well, so I'm 122 quid better off.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate. Let's go on to Gloucester City. And we've got a special guest with us this morning. We've got Gloucester City manager Daf Williams. Good morning, Daf.
How are we doing, UK? Thanks for having me on.
Very good, thank you. No, thank you for taking the time out to come on.
That's a little moment there, but I thought he can't hear you and we're not going to be able to hear him. He's been sat there for ages.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. We've been saying for weeks we wanted to try and get you on, and he was just trying to fit you in, and we've had double games, and trouble is when you have double games, sometimes the pod goes on for about 2 hours. So thanks for coming on.
No, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll start off, Daf. Obviously, in the week, we'll start with a bit of negative news, I suppose. In the week, Harry Pinchard leaves for Dorking. As a manager, it must be disappointing for you. You're setting your team up now to go in for the battle, if you like, for the last 11 games. I did read your comments, and I'll quote this: "We did everything we could to keep Harry, but obviously, Harry's had his head turned by Dorking. As much as you're disappointed, you kind of get the move, that the fact he's probably looking at next season, he may have that chance of playing in the National League."
Yeah, listen, I'm a massive fan of his, both personally and on a football front. And I said to him in the summer, he's been very honest. He's got ambitions to play higher. And I said to him in the summer that I think I can get him there. I'll be honest, I had a bigger and better move in mind for him. I think he can go higher than that, personally. And I know Dorking are on the verge of potentially getting promoted, but there's no guarantees in football. And I just felt the timing was really poor. I got to be honest, and the manner in which it all happened, which obviously I won't go into detail, but he's more than capable of playing higher, and I'm more than happy, or I was more than happy to support him with that journey. But never did I think it would happen with 10 games to go. So I'm not going to hide anything. I was really, really disappointed with the timing of everything. I kind of get it. In his mind as full-time footy. Financially he's in a far better place than what he would be, even with the offer that we put on the table for him. So, the reality is we can't compete with teams like that financially. That's something that we have to accept. And if it happened at the end of the season, I'd have shaken his hand. I'd have probably driven him there. But the 10 games to go is a bit of a sucker punch, I've got to be honest. But there's been many times this season we've had to roll our sleeves up. We've had to deal with so much different types of adversity this season, and we just move on. You know, it's one another punch that we've sort of been on the receiving end of for over the last couple of weeks or months, and we just pick ourselves up and we'll carry on going the way we are.
Yeah, I get it. Like we've spoken about Pinchard a lot, haven't we, Dave? And you had the trial at Cheltenham in the summer, which as a Cheltenham fan I think wasn't long enough. But that's football. Managers want to make a quick decision on players. I suppose for you as well, though, Daf. Like obviously, your aim is to get into the National League North next season. You won't want a player around who's not 100% committed as well. So it's probably best for both parties, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I did absolutely everything to keep him. Probably done a little bit more than realistically we could have done. It's the manner in which it all happened, and agents get involved, etc. It just got to a point where, for the benefit of the change room and the football club, we just had to sort of cut our losses and sort of wish him all the best. And as I said, I've been quite big on sort of culture and environment since I walked through the front door in the summer, and not one individual is key to that. It's far more than just one individual, which yesterday proved. We've gone to Poole and we've put in such a outstanding team performance. And at this stage of the season, that's exactly what you need. It wouldn't have been healthy for us to pursue sort of holding him against his will. And, we got to that stage where our hands are tied, really.
So obviously you move on. You talked about yesterday. Let's go on to the positive. Going into the week, you've got Poole away. Huge game. How big would you say, Daf, that is, not just for mathematically, obviously for points wise, but mentally for you and your team going forward, knowing that you maybe got that upper hand over Poole now, even if you don't end up crawling Wharton and Ersham back and you end up playing like Poole in the playoffs? How big mentally would that be for you and your team?
Yeah, I'd say it was huge mentally, but for slightly different reasons. I really don't care about other teams. I really don't care how many points we've got over different sides in the division. Why I think it was such a positive performance and day for us mentally was the manner that we won. We dug in. It's a really difficult place to go. The pitch is huge. It's a really, really heavy pitch. So obviously with us training and playing on 4G, it took a lot out of the lads. So around about the 65, 70 mark, we were struggling. And, Poole are quite renowned for getting late goals or getting a lot of chances later on in games. And I can certainly see why at home, to be fair. I haven't been there. That's the first time I've been there. And the way, it's not to be underestimated, the manner in which we dealt with the last 10, 15 minutes there yesterday. So for that reason, more than anything else, it was really, really pleasing.
Yeah, I do notice you say a lot in your post-match that you don't care about 2 or 3 or 4 games. You're always concentrating on that next game. Is that hard to get into players? Will players always be looking ahead, thinking if we win here or win there, or do you make sure you keep them grounded and go, it is the next game?
I think it's human nature. There's no doubt there'll be a couple of the lads looking at the next 10 games and thinking, we could win every game. Or, that's just lads, that's footballers and that's human beings. In terms of our standards and expectations. Yeah. But in terms of our standards and expectations and the narrative internally, it's very much about the next game. And I've probably been a victim of that a little bit, to be honest, in the fact that when we win, I just immediately think about the next game. And that's probably influenced the players maybe not to enjoy the wins as much as they should. Because, my narrative is always the next one, that's done. But yesterday, I sort of went against my sort of values and principles a little bit. I think we all had to enjoy that yesterday because of how we won it. And we're at the results end of the season now, where results are prioritised over performances, as they always are, to be fair, but especially this stage of the season. So it was really important that we enjoyed that yesterday, as well as looking ahead to the next game.
Yeah, you say there about that the way you think is probably stopping the players from enjoying the win. But I always go back to something Roy Keane used to say, that, during a title winning season, he said he would be in the change rooms after because the players would be like celebrating and he's like, I'm just in the zone. I'm like, right, next game. Because it wasn't until the end of the season he would enjoy it, because if he looks back on his career now and he's thinking, I really wish, like yesterday, I really wish we enjoyed that win at Poole, or those sort of games. Like, I kind of get it. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but I can completely relate to it. Listen, yesterday was great, to see the lads. I mean, when we actually got into the change room, they were all slumped in their spots in the change room, and there was barely a smile between them. But the bus was good on the way home, and and to be fair, with how we've sort of shifted our recruitment strategy of late, we've got some young lads in there, some inexperienced lads in there as well. So it's important that the seniors sort of galvanise the group and sort of share their experiences with those younger ones, and sort of relay that message of, it is important to enjoy the wins, but equally as important not to get too high as well.
Yeah. You say about the young lads, you brought in Mohammed and Siddle, and Dave's been raving about Mohammed, and Siddle gets his first goal yesterday. They settled in as well as you. Raving, it might be my Forest accent now. But yeah, Siddle scored yesterday. Have they settled in as well as you expected them to?
Yeah. So I went to watch Jamal a week or so before we signed him, and I've watched a little bit of Riley as well, and I had no doubt that from a performance point of view that they would improve us. I said after the Havant and Waterlooville game away, where we lost 3-0, that it's time to change a few things, and we've gone about and done that. Yeah, okay, it's left us a little bit thin on the ground, so we need 1 or 2 bodies in, but we've made a conscious decision to bring more quality in certain areas of the pitch, and Jamal and Riley have certainly done that, and their contribution has been magnificent so far, especially Jamal, because Jamal has obviously played every minute of every game since he's come into the building. Riley took 3 or 4 games, but both have done really, really well. As of others, Morgan Lewis seems to go under the radar a little bit. He's been an outstanding addition to the group, both on and off the pitch. Again, brings something different in terms of contributions in the final third, like more assists, more crosses, better defensively 1v1 than what we had previously in games. So, KT coming back as well. So KT sort of came back like a new signing really when Jamal and Riley came back into the building. Again, better 1v1 defender, gets up the pitch, works hard. So since the Havant and Waterlooville was a bit of a standout moment for me, where obviously Riley, Jamal came in, KT came back, Morgan Lewis came in, and they've all really contributed.
Yeah, I had some notes down about Kieran Thomas. The question I always ask, and I still ask it, I remember him coming through at Cheltenham, and he travelled with the first team squad to Rotherham, and there was just talks about that, this lad's going to make it, but he didn't get the deal at Cheltenham for whatever reason, not. But you see him every day, you see him every week. Do you look at Kieran and think, how have you not played in the Football League?
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, I got to be honest, I think that of a couple of the lads we got, I think we're really fortunate with the players that we have in the building. I'll include Pinchy in that as well, based on the conversation that we just had. But yeah, back to Kieran Thomas. What I love about him is just everything that he's about, everything he represents. If you could have 16 of him, you'd have 16 of him, because his characteristics, and we talk a lot about representation. I'm a big believer in representing his football club to the best of our ability, and he just epitomises it. And yeah, listen, he could definitely have played higher, in my opinion. There's no doubt about that. But equally, would I have the pleasure and the privilege of working with him right now? If that was the case, probably not. So I'll take it. Selfishly, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, and I would imagine with Kieran, and I actually know his family quite well, to be fair. But knowing the sort of character he is, he's been at Sinniford Town. He got promoted to the Southern Premier with Sinniford. Then he obviously went to Gloucester. Then he went to Weston-super-Mare. Every club he's been at, he's been kind of successful. And I would imagine, even having that long injury, I should imagine he was really good around the changing room and on the training pitch.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Obviously, he was devastated when he was out. So we had a conversation about getting him involved with set plays and a couple of things like that. He even scored off one of his set plays, which was fantastic for him. I won't say which one, but yeah, we did. Yeah, so he was great in around the changing room. Like, he's big on the fines and stuff like that. And for a manager, you need players, but especially a skipper, to sort of your standards and your expectations of the environment and the culture, they have to align. And we're singing off the same hymn sheet, and that's a dream for any manager, to have someone in that changing room that's sort of driving the same messages and standards that you want and that you have.
Yeah, definitely. And I could imagine you definitely get that with Kieran. Let's talk about Gloucester City as a club. In the summer, you made quite a bold statement by saying that probably Gloucester was the only club you would have left. You would have dropped down to Southern Premier level for. But how hard is it, Daf, for, when you got clubs like Farnham, you got Wharton and Ayrsham, AFC Totton last year, and this is no disrespect to these clubs, probably a lot of football fans, we're all massive football fans on here, and Anna, you're about half of these teams, but they're financially backed now. How hard is it for clubs like yourself, Poole, Weymouth, Dorchester, who've all played at the higher level, who should be playing at the higher level, to get out of the Southern Premier because of the amount of money which is now in football?
Yeah, it's really tough. Obviously, I was coming into this level a little bit sort of blind, really, in terms of like the likes of Farnham. But when teams are being heavily backed and invested, it obviously makes things a little bit more challenging and difficult, because ultimately that probably means that they've got good players on the books. But ultimately, it doesn't define or give you a defined right to get promoted. And it's not the ultimate reason why you would get promoted. There's far more that goes into it than that. And, I suppose we've got to change the narrative as well a little bit. I think it's this perception that we've got loads of money for the level. And when you actually compare our budgets to others, we actually haven't. So, yes, absolutely, we're competitive. But, you speak to some managers and they think you're full time and you've got X amount budget, and we're far from it. So, we're doing well based on, yes, okay, we've got a competitive budget, but we certainly haven't got the biggest. So we're doing well because of the players that we've got and the people that we've got in and around the football club, not just the players, the volunteers and the supporters and everyone connected to the football club sort of driving in the same direction.
Yeah. And you usually find that, don't you, that, clubs who have got lots of money, they're their peak, but you usually find that, and I got to say this lightly because I don't mean it disrespectfully, but the proper football clubs tend to have their success because they build right, they recruit right, bring the right players in, and they're getting players who want to play for the club and not players who are going, I'm going to go there because I'm going to get an extra £500 a week kind of things. Do you think that's fair what I'm saying now, or do you think I'm being a bit harsh on these other clubs?
No, I think that's fair. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think, as I said, there's nothing to say that chucking X amount of money at it isn't going to get you success. But, as I've just mentioned, it certainly doesn't define success. And, that's the narrative I think we need to shift slightly, because, when it comes down to recruitment as well, it becomes difficult because, players think that you've got all this money that you can throw at them, and like it's just not realistic for where we're at currently. So that's why I think breeding a strong culture and environment is ever so important, because you can't put a price on that. So recruiting good characters and good people, like I think we have done, and I think previous managers have done as well, at this football club, has become really, really important in terms of us building a platform and being successful.
Yeah. And talking about being realistic, even as a Cheltenham fan, I say this and I'll probably get shot when next time I go to Wadham Road. I always look at Gloucester City as a sleeping giant, in terms of the club. The attendances you're getting at Southern League level would put some clubs higher up to shame. And you would quite imagine that if Gloucester City get to back to National League North and manage to get to the National League, that the city would get behind the club and support. What do you think Gloucester City's ceiling would be at the moment? Where do you think you could get to?
Champions League.
I think it'd be naive to sort of set your stall out and, say Football League within the next amount of years or whatever. But I think first and foremost for us as a football club is to continue to stabilise the club, which I think Colin Taylor and many others have done so well behind the scenes. for us, I think if I was to be adventurous and put my neck out, I don't see why we can't be a National League club within a short to mid-term type of viewpoint. I think for us, we should be definitely at step 2. I think we're a step 2 club in terms of how we are on and off the pitch currently. And then, there's no reason why we can't, we can't set our expectations and our objectives that little bit higher and consider ourselves a National League club. I think certain things would have to change a little bit off the pitch in terms of being a bit more competitive. I'm probably contradicting myself, but there are some massive teams in that league now with massive, massive budgets. So things would have to change for us to be competitive and sustain at that level. But in terms of getting there, I don't see why this football club can't get there.
You mean you're not going to be in the Championship in 5 seasons? And have 3 stars and have some stars on
I'm
your
not
kit
coming on you just doing no comment. Because things like that break you on the backside.
Yeah, definitely. But you're right though. It with the way football's gone, and like I said, I was listening to an interview from John Coleman. Obviously, he's now at Aldershot, and he said some of the money that players are being paid at National League North and Safe level will make your eyes bleed. Because it opens your eyes up to what sort of money is in football now. But you're right, Daf. What can clubs do? What can Gloucester do to bridge that gap? For like I said, we spoke about Farnham and Morton Hersham a while back. What can Gloucester do to bridge that gap to be able to compete with those clubs to get to, like I said, National League level?
Start selling scarves in Bangladesh.
I think definitely continuing what they're doing. We as you've said, we're getting 1,100 through the gate. I think commercially and marketing and advertising, all things like that, which is definitely not my skill set, but there's people at the football club that are doing an outstanding job sort of improving on those fronts. It was fantastic last year, and I saw that from an outside perspective, and being involved with the football club now, I think they're doing a fantastic job, and I think it's just taking that to another level as well. I suppose the biggest challenge for us is, and I've got that experience of being in the football club in the National League North when maybe results weren't going your way, and you saw a little bit of a decline in the numbers, and you're probably looking at half the gate that we're currently getting in the Southern Prem. So I feel like because commercially and off the pitch and the way the football club's being run, I don't think the football club would be in that place again if it were to go up. So I think that's a good evidence, if you like, that I think it's in a better place. And then it's just about taking it to new levels. You need different sort of incomes, investment here and there, and that only comes from commercially being bang on. And I think we're definitely there, and I think there's scope to be better. But we've definitely got the right people involved, and that's what it's about. It's about having the right people involved to put you on that pedestal and to sort of build that platform to take you to the next level. And I think the right people are involved, and that's probably the hardest part, actually.
Yeah, and it is proven that Gloucester can compete at the next level as well, because if you go back to COVID, when for your club, you was artially robbed to potentially, you was top of the league when it shut down for COVID. So it does prove that Gloucester can compete at the next level.
Yeah, definitely. I strongly believe that the majority of the group that we've got could easily compete at the level above. And then if we were to get there, then we need to strengthen in depth a little bit. And so from a footballing point of view, I think we're there in terms of step 2, and we need to add in different areas, absolutely. But I think the biggest thing for the football club then is the off-pitch stuff, continuing to doing what they're doing, and being able to take that to another level. I think that would be a really good place for the club to be if we were to progress and go higher.
Yeah, you mentioned about the players you've got, and there's a couple of players I've got here. You've got Joe Hanks, who's scored 13 goals this season, and it's probably the only player you'll ever find that Cheltenham fans still love, even though he's spent 300 games at Gloucester City. He played 33 times with Cheltenham in the Football League, and his goal at Barrow away was unreal. We talked about captains like Kieran Thomas and all that. Joe Hanks is just a mirror of Kieran Thomas, isn't he?
Yeah. I feel so lucky and I feel so privileged to be working with people like that. and there's others in there. But you're asking about Joe Hanks. I think yesterday sums Joe Hanks up. He ended up playing as a 6 deep lying midfielder towards the end of the game, because we had to do a job in there, and we did it brilliantly. He'll play whatever you want him to play, and that's a symbol of his character. He's a fantastic character in the changing room. Again, talking about representation, I think he represents his football club brilliantly, and he epitomises what we want in terms of our values and our standards. And we're really, really lucky to have someone like Joe.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying that Joe's played in every single position for City apart from left back.
Has he played in goal as well?
He's played in goal. Yeah, twice keeper's been sent off, and Joe stepped in with the gloves and did a grand job on both occasions. So, yeah, he's certainly Mr. Versatile.
Might stick him in left back.
Just touching on...
yeah, do it.
Yeah, last game of the season, if you can't win the league, just stick him at left back. We'll carry on, Dave. Do you think that Joe Hanks could play a massive part in the final 11 games, like that experience now coming through for you to go and get
without a doubt. That calm head is what you need. Things like penalty shootouts and stuff. Literally nobody I'd rather step up and take a penalty to send you to promotion than Joe Hanks. He's been there, done it. He's calm. Yeah, I can see him playing a huge part in the running. Hopefully with a few more goals.
Yeah, and obviously Kane Simpson scored again yesterday.
He did, yeah, good finish as well. Hanks, he set it up, threaded him through.
18 goals now for the season, Dave. And we're just about to finish on this one with Daf and saying, how important is Kane going to be for your running?
Yeah, I mean, he needs to keep that goal scoring record up if we're going to be taking the majority of the points from the last 10 games. 9 games until Walton, isn't it? We need to win. If we win all those 9 games, then it could be very, very interesting. But it's going to be certainly not going to be boring.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
it's good to hear from him. Nothing he said isn't exactly what I expect him to say. He sets really high standards.
Yeah, no, really good interview, and it was good to have Daf on. And just finally, Dave, it's probably not a question to ask Daf because I know he only looks to the next game and not further on. But next 5 games for you, you've got Bracknell at home, Berkhamsted away, Uxbridge at home, Tiverton away, and Plymouth Parkway at home. Poole have Dorchester away, Taunton at home, Gosport away, Yate away, and Bracknell at home. And Farnham in March have Yate home, Anwell at home, and Waterlooville home, Fortnum Hersham away, Dorchester at home, Basingstoke at home, Stoke at home, Plymouth Parkway away, and Chertsey at home. That's their March fixtures. So they've got 8 games.
Yeah. They got a lot against Hanwell are on fire though, and I think they've won their last 6, so that's going to be a tough game for Farnham. Interestingly, Sops Albieri has gone on loan from Cheltenham to Yate. Presumably, I mean, he left us. He wasn't getting a huge amount of game time. When he did come on, he was really he was a great part of the squad, but he wasn't starting. Presumably Cheltenham want to see him get more minutes, and I imagine he'll start every game at Yate. He started yesterday against Walton and Hersham, and nobody would be surprised to hear he won a penalty, which they scored. Unfortunately, they lost 3-1, but Yate are playing Farnham in the week. So we're relying on you, Sops. We need you to win 4 or 5 penalties against Farnham, because they're the ones I'm most concerned about with those games in hand. If they win those games in hand, they'll overtake us for second. So we need them to be dropping some points. But most importantly, we need to be winning. And that's all we can control.
Well, that's the thing. Sops as well. Believe it or not, he's only 17. Every time he plays with Cheltenham in any youth game, he scores. Every time. So, yeah, he might do the job for you. But I tell you what, Daf's coming back in.
Oh, is he? Oh, here he is.
Hello, Daf.
Here he is. He's back.
My sincere apologies.
No, it's okay, mate. I could see your signal was struggling. And, we was getting pretty much to the last question anyway. And what I wanted to just ask you about was yeah, it is. Yeah. What I wanted to ask you about was was Kane Simpson. Obviously, you brought him in. He's renowned for his goal scoring. He had a little break a couple of weeks ago, but he's come back and he's been on fire, hasn't he? And he's hitting that form right at the right time of the season for you guys.
Yeah, and so we should after his break. Nah, listen, he's been great. He's been really, really good. He does what it says on the tin. He scores goals, the boy, to be fair. Yeah, he's a great character. He's sort of settled really well into the group. And we're really fortunate to have him now for this run-in. And, you know, I mentioned previously about having the Waterlooville game being almost like a pivotal moment of the season for us, where we had to change a few things round, and those changes certainly bring out the best in Kane, in Hanksy, and those type of players. Hopefully, he'll continue the form that he's in for what's a big 10 games for us, and he's certainly contributing, that's for sure.
I certainly hope he doesn't leave his phone lying about unattended either.
Yeah, no comment.
Sounds like an in-club joke. We'll leave it to that one. And Dave, I'm going to push you out of your comfort now, because I know you don't like looking ahead of the next game. But I've got the next 5 fixtures for yourself, Poole, and Farnham, and I've not got Havant and Hersham, because they are 9 points clear of a game in hand, and I know you'll be telling your players just do your job and see what happens, and then hopefully that last game of the season when you've got them could be a promotion game. But obviously, as Dave's always said on the pod, the most important thing for Gloucester is to make sure if they ain't going to win the league, they finish second, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing that we haven't made secret. You know, there's no point hiding from it. It's finishing second gives you a great advantage. Does it guarantee you success? Absolutely not. You could finish 5th or whatever it is, and I'd still back us. I still think that we'd have a great chance. But naturally, you're going to fancy your chances a little bit more at home, and also as well for what that could bring to the football club as well. Bringing that type of crowd in and bringing that sort of atmosphere to the football club would be fantastic if we can do it.
Yeah, and obviously Farnham, you're going to probably be looking at them in terms of they got so many games in hand, but they play 8 games in March, where yourself and Poole play 5. So you kind of open it, the Saturday, Tuesday is going to take its toll on them, and they fall away, and it's just going to be a 2-team shootout between you and Poole.
Yeah, to be honest, I think if any team can do it, it's Farnham. In my opinion, Farnham are a really, really good side. I think they've got the makeup of a promotion side. I think they've got some really good players, a mixture of ability, experience, and I think if any team in the league can get the results from those games in hand in what is a demanding schedule, I think it's Farnham. Yeah, pressure on them. Yeah,
it puts it into an exciting end of the season. You've got obviously Forest Green who are in the playoffs. You've got yourself in the playoffs. You've got Cheltenham who's like just dwindling the season out, which I'll take that after our start. So, so all I'll say, David, is good luck. And we genuinely mean that, because the more clubs we got higher up the pyramid, it's good for the pod. We get more people listening as well. So best of luck, and thanks for coming on. Really enjoyed having you on, and sorry it's taken us so long to get you on.
Sorry for the sorry I cut out.
No problem. And if it obviously we get towards maybe the end of the season, and before whether it's to win the league or the playoff campaign, we'll get you back on and get the Gloucester fever going.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, I actually don't know if Dave knows this, but I have listened to a couple of the pods, and I think you're all doing a fantastic job. And keep up the good work. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Daf. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Ta-da.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Brilliant. So let's go on to Cheltenham Town. That was a really good interview. I enjoyed that. Chris, so let's go on to Cheltenham Town, sponsored by Emirates Racing. They're on all your socials and online. If you've got any questions you want to get involved, get in contact with them, and especially through Chris Hayes, and Chris Hayes might be able to direct you. So Chris, we'll go on to Harrogate. But before we do, let's go over and have a listen to Pete Matthews' voice note. And this is what he thought I'd say about the game.
In the end, that was a good point for Cheltenham. They weren't at their best. although some of the passing, particularly in the first half, was pretty decent. There's no doubt that in Harry Ashfield and Cole Deeming, Cheltenham have got two very, very talented young footballers. The reality was that Harrogate had a lot of play in the first half, didn't create much. One shot into the side netting, one shot over the bar. Cheltenham should have scored. Great ball in bar. Jude Boyd, George Miller probably should have done better. Right at the start of the second half, though, what a great move for the goal. Really good play by Ashfield. Ball inside the fullback. Bickerstaff kept his composure, pulled the ball back, and who else but Isaac Hutchinson put the ball in the back of the net, including his goals for Bristol Rovers. He's got 14 this season, which is absolutely sensational for a midfield player who were bet against him getting 20 for the season, the form he's in. But that lead didn't last long. So frustrating to concede from a set piece yet again. This was a good flick header, but Cheltenham have developed an alarming habit of being very, very susceptible to set pieces, which needs to be worked on. I'm sure it will be. Rest of the game, Harrogate had the better chances, there's no doubt about that. Joe Day made some decent saves, one in particular from a late header. But Cheltenham overall will be satisfied with the point. Harrogate stay the same distance away from them. I personally don't think there's any danger of Cheltenham getting pulled into a relegation scrap. But credit to Harrogate, they're not a bad side, and I very much hope they will get out of it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Pete. Agree with that. Hell of a journey. Nearly 5 hours to get up there.
By the way, what absolute fool organises the longest trip of the season on a Friday night?
I think that was Michael Flynn. And if you listen to
someone wanted his Saturday at home, didn't they?
He absolutely did. And if you listen to Steve Cottrell's interview after, he does turn around and say who arranges for a Friday. And it's no surprise all our long away games were moved to a Friday because people did say that Michael did like to have a weekend at home, which in professional football you can't do. But it's fair to say, Chris, it was a game where Cheltenham just had we just couldn't lose, could we?
Yeah, it was really important that we. It wasn't a must win by any means, but it was certainly a must not lose. If we allowed Harrogate to close in by 3 points, that's the work of last week completely undone. But yeah, we didn't, and it's been a really good week as a Cheltenham Town fan.
Absolutely. Just before kick-off, obviously the team came out and Jordan Thomas was out ill. The bug seems to be hanging around a bit, doesn't it? A few have had it.
Yeah, although, I mean, Steve did allude to it after the game. It might be a false alarm with Jordan, but hopefully it is, because and I've said this many times on the pod, I think Jordan Thomas is our best player. So we could really do with him not being ill. But yeah, hopefully he's back. For the next game.
Yeah, and Demon and Ashfield come in for Young, who obviously dropped to the bench, and obviously we just said Jordan Thomas was ill. I was quite excited to see them both start, because they're two exciting players, aren't they?
Definitely. Ashfield he's got a touch of quality about him. He's he looks a proper player. Him and Deeming combining down that right-hand side in the first half at times was completely unplayable, I thought. They both had decent games.
Yeah, it did. And I know what I find with Ashfield, like there's been a lot of hype about him, and I can see why. He's comfortable on the ball. When he gets the ball, he's not looking just to pop it off. He'll travel with it as well, and that was evident Friday night, wasn't it?
Definitely. 100% not surprised about him having so much interest in him in January. He could play the league above now, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I know a couple of people I've spoken to have said that there's a great possibility that had he not picked up an injury earlier in the season, because he was around the Wrexham first team, that he would maybe around the bench. So it might be some Wrexham are looking at next season, unless they get into the Premier League, of course. And then I would say there'll probably be more than a handful of League One / maybe Championship clubs looking at him, because he does have that Callum Wright feel about him. Somebody.
Yeah, he's got that bit of quality. at times he was unplayable. And that's the thing with youngsters; they are going to make mistakes, and both of them did make a few. But I still thought they had really good games.
Yeah, definitely. It was in a way, it was quite a quiet first half, Chris, and I think both teams were trying to feel each other out and to see how we was going to set up and what have you. But I would say Cheltenham edged the first half, but and had a couple of chances. The best chance was our Jude Boyd's ball into Miller, which we've said time and time again on these pods. If there's anybody you want in that 6-yard box when that ball's put in like that, is George Miller, and he made a hash of it, didn't he?
Completely fluffed it. It was, by the way, I've got to say this, what a ball in by Arkell. It's a fantastic cross. And I've seen this chance about 20 times because I can't stop looking at it because I can't believe he's missed. Honestly, can't believe he's missed. I don't really know what he's done, to be honest. It was a tap-in.
And because I've only seen it back once.
Oh, mate, I've seen it loads of times.
Doesn't he hit it against the defender?
The defender. Technically, you could say the defender blocked it, but I actually think it was going wide. He's hit it that badly. I think it was going wide.
Yeah, no, I agree. At the time, I thought the keeper saved it, and then when I seen the replay back, I was like, "Oh, he didn't save it."
It was an absolute sitter.
Yeah, he should be scoring, but we go in 0-0. We had to be happy with that because, like I said, the pressure was all on Harrogate, wasn't it? We could sit in a low block if we wanted to and just get the point and go home. But just to touch on Harrogate, they're not as bad side as what their league position says, are they?
They're not a bottom 2 team. I'll tell you that. They're not a bottom 2 team.
I said this when we played them at home. We played Shrewsbury, Bristol Rovers, Newport, Crawley, and Harrogate stood out. They was a team who liked to get the ball down. And Steve has said,
decent team.
Yeah, Steve has said as well, Chris, that they'd made 8 changes in terms of like players over January and all that. But it seems to be paying off for them a little bit.
Yeah, mate. Look, they play some good football. You can tell they like to keep the ball, and they like to play football. They are not a bottom 2 team, and if they go down, I will be shocked. The way if they play the way they played against us, they'll win games.
Yeah. So we go in 0-0 at half time. I should imagine Steve's message to the team was, keep it tight. You've got for the first half. You haven't conceded in the first 10 minutes. Brilliant. Let's keep it tight in the second half. But within 33 seconds, we're 1-0 up.
Great bit of play. What a ball by Ashfield. That if Ashfield doesn't make that pass, we don't score. It's as simple as that. It probably would have got recycled and gone back, through the defenders, and then we would have tried a different way. But that ball is the goal. It's what made the goal. Great run by Bickerstaff, I've got to say that, and a nice bit of composure from Bickerstaff as well, which I like. Really liked from him. Nice little ball across, and Isaac Hutchinson did his best to fall over and managed to put it in the back of the net with a really nice little finish from the bottom corner, to be fair to him. Even though it looked like he was a little bit Bambi on ice at times.
Yeah, no, you're right. The ball from Ashford, I call it was like a reverse pass, wasn't it? And it was just like, it was the only way.
Outside of the boot, it's beautiful.
Oh, it was beautiful. And Bickerstaff, like the run onto it, the way he looked at Ashfield, and Ashfield plays the ball, he was like, he looked at him and said, right, put it there, that's where I'm going. And it was great link-up play from him. And like you said, again, sometimes the ball gets put in by players and they just whack it across the goal. But you look at the goal against Bromley, you look at that goal on Friday night, it was put in the right area where Isaac Hutchinson arrives late into the box. And you said he did sort of like, it did seem like his legs had gone weak, Chris. But he does crest it into that corner, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, look, Bickerstaff, you could see he looked rather than he just put it somewhere. He looked, and he saw Hutchinson's run, and he put it on a plate. And despite Isaac thinking he was in a Disney film for a second, it was a really nice finish in the bottom corner. But that's what we expect from Isaac, to be fair. We expect that from him now.
Yeah, 100%. That's 14 goals for the season for Isaac Hutchinson, 12 for Cheltenham. And we keep saying it, but he is brilliant, isn't he? He's just, he's the difference between Cheltenham staying up this season and us going down, because without him, I think we're in the bottom two.
I agree wholeheartedly. I couldn't agree any more. Without Isaac, I think we would have struggled this season more than we have. With Isaac in the team, we've got someone who it really and truly, you'd expect one of the strikers to be on 14 goals for the season. For it to come from a midfielder who isn't always the number 10. He was pushed further up against Harrogate, and that was really evident. He was definitely pushed further up. But he's not always pushed further up. Sometimes he's quite deep. So yeah, it's been a great return from a player who is enjoying his football, and it's evident that he's enjoying his football at this club.
Yeah, 100%. And I thought Friday night probably wasn't his best game, but to have a knack of scoring goals, you know,
if you're scoring goals when you're not having your best game, that's what you want.
Yeah, 100%. And there's been a lot of talk, Chris, about on socials where I think Cheltenham fans are getting a little bit carried away and think, you know, we're going to build a side around him next season. I generally don't see him at Cheltenham. I think he'll have interest from League One. You know, a player who scored 14, you know, we haven't finished yet. We still got 13, 14 games to go. So a player who scored 14 goals from midfield in a struggling side. I don't see him going back to Bristol Rovers and playing, but I can see someone like a Burton,
not in the National League, no.
Stevenage, someone like that, like in League One, who'll maybe come in and go, you know, we'll take a shot on you. Can you see any hope of Cheltenham trying to get him in the summer?
Look, I said this when he went back in the window. I said that I did not see Isaac Hutchinson coming back to Cheltenham Town this season. So I'm going to say it again in the hope that he does. There is absolutely no way that Isaac Hutchinson will be at Cheltenham Town next season.
Sadly, I agree. You know, if we did, it'd be a massive statement of our intent next season. But I think that what Bristol Rovers is going to want fee wise, which I don't think would be a problem for Mike Garlick to pay, but the problem is then the salary, which then obviously don't forget in League Two you can only spend 60% of your turnover on wages. So if you're giving, say, let's say a ball figure, this is not me knowing. If he's on $3,500 a week, say at Bristol Rovers, that's a big chunk of Cheltenham's budget on one player. So, yeah, let's wait and see. You know, if anybody from Cheltenham are listening, you know, make it our number one shopping. You know, if you sign him on the 1st of May and announce it, season tickets go for the roof. And just finally on Ashfield, Chris, we talked about players who play above, you know, playing below their level, if you like, and you see that they're going to go on and play in League One or the Championship. Does he remind you of a Finn Azaz, Callum Wright kind of player where you're looking at him and going, yeah, you're a standout player?
In terms of being a standout, yes. In terms of positionally, no, because they're completely different. All three of them, actually. He's more like Finn Azaz, to be fair, than Callum Wright.
Agree.
But yeah, he's playing below his level right now, I think, and I do believe he will go on and be and have a really good career, probably at Championship, top end of League One level.
But he's very mature as well, isn't he? You listen to him in his interviews; he seems like a real bubbly character, but he's very, very mature, and you can also tell that he's enjoying playing first team football, because when we scored Friday night, he went over to the away end, and obviously all the players were there, but he was there going like that to the fans and telling them to get down to the front, and then obviously got crushed by 2 or 3 of them because they dragged him in, kind of thing. But he just shows that he's enjoying it, and it's an experience.
Look, he's buzzing. He's playing men's football. He's been playing 21s or academy or whatever you want to call it, football for God knows how long. He had a little spell out somewhere, I think. I can't remember where. But he's playing league football. And that's the dream of every young player playing currently in Premier League 2 or any football academy. Their dream is get your EFL debut and play EFL football, and that's what he's doing. And he's clearly buzzing to be doing it. And fair play to him.
Absolutely, yeah. Look forward to seeing him over the next 12, 13 games. we was obviously in dreamland because we was 1-0 up. And you're thinking, just keep it tight now for 15 minutes because the crowd was up a bit. 4 minutes later, we concede, and it's from a set piece again.
Yes. It was, if we held on for 10 minutes, we win that game, I think. They didn't really look like scoring. I don't think they'd had a shot on target until after we scored. And I think their first shot on target was their goal. And it was from a set piece, and it's a poor goal. It's one of that. It's just a poor goal. It's another set piece goal. Someone didn't do their job, and ends up in the back of the net, and that cost us 3 points.
Yeah, it was the ball in. It wasn't as if it was like it was floated. It was whipped in, and the lad just flicks it, doesn't he? The centre half flicked it, and Day's obviously beaten, and so is half of the defence. But the one thing I've noticed, Chris, and I love him to bits because I think he's a really, really good defender. He's good with the ball at his feet. He can put a good tackle in. But the one thing I'm concerned about, there's talking about Wilson being at Cheltenham next season, and I would take him all day long because of experience and what have you. But have you noticed over the last few games that he seems to be being out-jumped a lot by attackers? It was very evident Friday.
Not something I've really noticed too much, no, myself. I've always rated Wilson as pretty good in the air. No, I will look out for it, but I haven't noticed it, no.
It might have just been Friday because I watched it a bit more closer Friday after that set piece, and it was just like the balls at Harrogate were lumping forward. It just seemed like he didn't have that spring in his step to get above the attacker, and they won a couple of flick-ons, or that might just be the timing was out. But yeah, it's something to look at going forward because I think he's absolutely he's a brilliant defender. Him and Cundy have done really well together, but. I don't. Again, any Cheltenham fans out there, if you've noticed the same, drop us a message because I don't know whether it's just me who's noticed it. But after Harrogate scored, they have like a 10-minute spell. Well, I thought should have been a 10-minute spell, but they have a spell of possession. Didn't really hurt us until we got into the latter stage of the games. But Cots did take off, which I agree with one of them, Chris. He takes off Ashfield. And then literally a couple of minutes later, it takes off Cole Demon. But my problem is that when he done that, we invited pressure on. And then for the last probably 20 minutes, it was all Harrogate, wasn't it?
Yeah, I actually missed a lot of the second half for personal reasons. But I have seen the highlights. So I didn't really get a really good gauge of how the game was going for about 20 minutes in that period. So you're much better placed to comment on that than I am, unfortunately.
Yeah, they made a good save where he tipped it over the bar. And one of them, we said to Sean about Harry Oisted on Saturday, where it's a good save, but it is a save you expect the keeper to make. You sort of like
I've seen the saves. I have seen the saves, and they're all, bar one, probably saves that I would expect a goalie to make. The one that I'm alluding to that I think was a really good save was the header that came.
Oh yeah,
Jordan Pickford. Yeah, but no, it was the header that came from the cross that came in, and he headed it back the way it was coming, and he got down.
Yeah.
That was the really good save. The rest of them, I think he should save all of them. I think that's what a keeper's there to do.
The one down low was a good save as well because he slipped before, didn't he? And then the attacker hits it low and he gets back up and tips it around the post.
Yeah.
But for all the pressure they had, we could have won it late on. When again the counter attack and Bickerstaff, who again I think is turning into, like Cottrell keeps alluding to it, but he game by game is turning into a really good player. He's playing out wide. Cheltenham attack, he gets into the box, puts it across. At the time where I was sat, I thought the keeper saved it, but watching back on the highlight, the defender actually blocks with his leg because it was going to Davison for a tap in on the line.
Yeah, it was, and it was a tap in. It's what I will say is it's a great bit of defending. It's a really good bit of defending, and that saved them. That saved them a point.
Yeah, and it's fair to say it was a game of two halves. We're not going to say Cheltenham dominated second half.
Isn't every game?
It is. But, you've been watching Cheltenham long enough. Sometimes it feels just like 1 hour for 90 minutes in the opposition.
It's like Cots alluding to the trip up, that it was a long month.
It was a long month. Yeah, it was. And
a long month that day.
He wasn't very happy with that, which we'll touch on now. It was a game of 2 halves. On the first half, Harrogate definitely had the better of the second half. But out of the two teams, Cheltenham will be the happiest. We're 9 points clear with 2 games in hand. And with yesterday's results, pretty much every team below us lost. Newport drew, but they pretty much all lost. So we're no worse off, but we've got 2 games in hand over teams. And are you starting to feel a bit more at ease now? Even though I'm not saying we was ever worried about going down, but we kept looking over our shoulder because obviously a few teams picked up. But I think you would need 5 teams to have an unbelievable end to a season for us to get dragged into it.
I don't think we're going to go down. I think one more win and we're guaranteed. I don't see any other team getting more points than us.
Well, that's
9 more points.
Let's say when it's not just the 9 points, you need 4 or 5 teams to win 4 more games than you to get above you.
Just don't see it.
And we got a big one on next Friday when we play Barrow at home. Again, if we win that, then there's no question about it, is there?
No. And then we can start accusing the players of being on the beach.
Yeah, you have like 12 games going. They're on the beach. They're on the beach when you get stuff. But I don't think Steve Culture will allow that for some reason.
Yeah, something tells me he wouldn't put up with it.
No. Go on. Not a goal scorer.
Not bad, but he can't. He's not a goal scorer. He's not going to score 20 goals a season. But he. What I've been really impressed with Josh Davison is with the ball, when the ball comes up to him, first touch passes are excellent. He laid one out to someone. I think it was Deeming out on the left in the Harrogate game. That was excellent. And his link up play on his debut was sensational. It was brilliant. But he's not going to score a lot of goals.
No, the one bit what stood out for me Friday night was the ball come up to him and he was holding grappling with the defender as they always do. He released himself and heads the ball out to Bickerstaff, and I think that was the chance when Bickerstaff put it across and the defender cleared it from going to him. But I would say, Sean, he's not going to score. I would very much doubt he would get 5 goals a season, even in a decent side, because it just doesn't seem that sort of player. But I've said to you a lot, haven't I, about Temi Babalola with Cheltenham are missing that kind of player. And he offers that, because then it gives you your Ashfields, your Demons, your Hutchinsons, Jordan Thomas a chance to fall on those second balls or, receive the balls off him. But yeah, he's not going to score a lot of goals.
I'll be really surprised to see what happens when Mo Fowle comes in, because Mo Fowle's 6'5", and apparently he's pretty quick as well. So they sound like similar players. So I'd be I will be interested to see what happens when Mo is available in a few weeks.
And he's proven it in League 2 as well, Mo Fowle. Yeah, I did. Mo Fowle. Yeah. You're right. It's weird because when we signed Davison, you watched his goals and they were scrappy goals, weren't they? A couple of headers or, like tap-ins. But you looked at the videos they showed of Mo Fowle's goals. And again, we keep saying above the level that he's at. We're lucky to have him on loan, because of his injury. He's been playing in League One, and people were judging, going, "Oh, he didn't do well at Port Vale." Well, nobody's done well at Port Vale. They've been relegated since like September. So you can't judge him on that, but you judge him before. When in League 2, and I think the goals he scored for Walsall. I actually spoke to Hutchinson's dad at the game, and he said that obviously Hutch played with him at Walsall, and he said unbelievable player. So you're right. It's whether he gets much game time when Mo's fit, which ain't going to be in for another 3 weeks. So I think in the last 10 games, Cheltenham, I think they're getting him in for. On the Cots thoughts, he basically said it's a great point. The goal Cheltenham scored, he said, was probably the only bit of quality in the game, which is right. He mentions, as you said, Chris, he mentions about taking a month to get there. He said, usually, because if it was on a Saturday, he said Cheltenham would have stayed up overnight. Players would have had a rest. So to set off early, get up there, it was a long day. Obviously, it's going to be a long drive back. And he did have a little bit of a dig and said, whose idea was it to to move this game to a Friday night, which we know who it was, because it happened with Barrow. It happened again with this one. I think Arrogant last season got moved, and that was down to our previous manager. But he was pleased, Chris, wasn't he? And it was a good point.
Yeah, it was. It was like we alluded to at the start. It was an important not to lose. So yes, it was an important point.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris. That's Cheltenham Town. Let's go over to Sean on scores on the doors. Due to technical difficulties, we've not been able to record scores on the doors, so I've had to record a separate setting. What the guys have gone for this week, actually after last week's scores, the table sits with Dave on 61, who's top, Chris second on 55, Sean third on 53, and Dan, myself, bottom on 49. This week's predictions for Cheltenham against Barrow. I've gone for a 2-0 win Cheltenham. Sean's gone for a 2-0 win Cheltenham. Chris has gone for a 2-0 win Cheltenham. And Dave has gone for a 2-1 win Cheltenham. Forest Green versus Aldershot. I've gone for a 2-1 win Aldershot. Sean's gone for a 2-1 win Forest Green. Chris has gone for a 3-3. And Dave has gone for a 2-1 win Aldershot. And for Gloucester against Bracknell, I've gone for a 3-1 win Gloucester. Sean has gone for a 2-0 win for Gloucester. Chris has gone a 3-0 win Gloucester. And Dave has gone for a 2-1 win for Gloucester. Hopefully next week, scores on the doors will be back, and we won't have the technical issues. Right, brilliant. I think that's a good place to leave it. Thanks for joining us, Dave. Thanks for joining us, Sean. And as always, thanks for joining us, Chris.
Pleasure, gents.
Follow us. Absolutely. Thanks to Daf for joining us. Really good interview. I really enjoyed that one. Follow us on all our socials as usual on Instagram, X, Facebook, and YouTube. On a weekend where Robin's taken much needed points, Rovers shut the gate on Gateshead, and City look like they're in a pool of their own. We'll see you next time.